Craft Academy. Detroit Craft Academy. Detroit Crafts with Jody. Detroit Craft Academy.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to the first ever episode of Detroit Craft Academy. What is it? It's a blog, it's a podcast, it's me rambling on and on and on. My name is Jody Lynn and I'm an illustrator from Detroit, Michigan. I've been lucky enough to be able to travel around the country for the past couple of years and meet so many amazing people, different artists, musicians, writers, creatives, crafters, organizers, all different kinds of people. Everyone has their own story, and they have been so inspiring to me. I thought it would be a good idea to put something together so that not only can I have all of those stories in one place, but I could share them with other people as well. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this podcast, and thanks for tuning in to our first show. On today's episode, I will be interviewing Grace Dobush, author, freelance writer, craft enthusiast, public speaker, co-founder of Crafty Supermarket show in Cincinnati, and also part of the Midwest Craft Conference. Grace was super fun to interview, and I really hope that you guys enjoy listening to the show. All right, so let's get this thing rolling a little bit. Are you ready? Are you ready, Grace?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Jody.
Yay!
Jody Land. What's up?
Hey. So just to get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up? Did you come from a creative family? And where did you go to school?
I grew up near Cleveland, on the west side of Cleveland, and then my parents moved to a small town in Lorain County where they still live. And that's where I spent my high school years making zines and being bored in my small town and riding my bike around. It was actually really cool growing up in a small town in Ohio because you just had to make your own fun. And so I think that spurred me to be really creative. And I made my first magazine, my first little zine when I was in junior high school. And that's how I wanted to get into magazine editing for real. And I did it, those weird. I also wrote a screenplay when I was in junior high school that I still hope one day might be produced.
And you did that in high school?
Such a terrible movie. I did it junior high school. I typed it up on a typewriter at the library. Yeah. It was my project one summer. And it's a really terrible knockoff of Mixed Nuts and Home for the Holidays. But, I just went for it. My family is they're entrepreneurs. They're not necessarily creative, but I've always been just creative doing my own thing.
What do you think inspired you? Did you when did you start writing and know that you wanted to be a writer?
I definitely really loved writing from the start of my school days, but it was in junior high school that I really knew that I wanted to be a magazine writer. We had this teacher in junior high who, honestly, he was a coach who also taught. So it wasn't the most rigorous class academically, but his cornerstone project for, his 8th grade English class was the magazine project, in which every kid had to make a 24-page magazine about a topic of your choosing. And, some kids did magazines about dirt bikes or cheerleading or whatever. And my magazine was a Rolling Stone style magazine about music from 1985. It was a period piece.
That's so perfect.
So I just got so deep into this, and the project was to, understand how magazines are made kind of. And so you had to have a table of contents. You had to have like 20% of your pages be advertising. So all my advertising was period. Like I had Andy Warhol brand hairspray advertising in the magazine, like all this weird stuff. And I was just like so into the project. And so after that, I started a zine called Music News, which I put out monthly for like 2 years, like photocopying it in my mom's office. She's a church secretary. I would use her computer to typeset it and use her photocopier to make copies. And I distribute it. My peak circulation was like 30 copies, like a quarter a piece. Like it was pretty major.
That's pretty big for Lorraine.
Yeah, in like my small town. And actually the like my peak circulation included like the English teacher and the librarian at my high school. So I had like pretty wide distribution.
Oh, and you still make zines, right?
I do. Yeah. I started making zines again a few years ago because I missed like the copy and paste physical aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I also have a pretty serious washi tape problem. So I needed an outlet for my washi tape. So I started making zines again. Like I did a zine about quitting your job, and I made a zine about this weird German handwriting that I'm kind of obsessed with, that the Nazis outlawed. Like just little zines about things. And I'm actually feeling the itch again. I want to make some more zines this year.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that idea because it's almost like a lost art. I remember zines being really popular in high school, and then they just disappeared for a while, and now I'm seeing them slowly come back into circulation.
For sure. Like I think zines, when they were around, is before the internet, and that was like the way to distribute information, but then blogging got easier. So people made blogs because you could get a wider audience. But I think there's still a subset of people that appreciates like the combination of text and art and it all being encapsulated in a physical object that you can really only get from like the zine experience. Last fall, I went to a zine fair in Lexington, Kentucky, and like really wanted to check it out, but I was kind of broke at the time. So I just filled my messenger bag with a lot of my own zines and stickers and other things to trade, thinking like, oh, well, maybe somebody would be into trade. Girl, I traded like all of my zines. I came back with so much cool art and like cool. Other stickers and other people's zines. And so that's the other thing I really love about the zine community. Like you can sell these zines for like, a couple bucks and totally, make your money back. But you can also trade with other people and just, it's a very DIY grassroots kind of scene. And I really love that about zines.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's just like a really quick and easy way to get out your thoughts or artwork. And like it's like artist trading cards in a way, which I think is a really great idea. So after high school, where did you go to college?
I jumped around a little bit. I was on a 5.5-year plan.
I was on an 8. 8 for undergrad.
Well, I actually, my junior year of high school, I lived abroad in Germany. I got a scholarship to study abroad and live with a family for an entire year. And that was really like life-changing. I lived with this family in Western Germany, in like the Dayton, Ohio of Germany. Like no one knows this city unless you're like from there.
Did you get placed there, or did you get to pick what city you wanted to go to?
No, you didn't get to pick.
Okay.
No, you didn't get to pick, but I really loved my family. Like my family was awesome. And my host parents also didn't speak any English. So I had to like learn German, it was like a sink or swim.
Did you know any German before?
I had taken 2 years of high school German. So I had like some basics. And then we all also, like the 60 kids in my program, we stayed in a youth hostel for a month, like doing intensive German classes based on wherever we were. And then I got sent to like German high school and, just went for it. And it was so fun. Like it just affected so much of my life. Like, going from a very small town to seeing like the bigger world and my host family also like really loved travel. So they took me with them to like Paris, London, Austria. Like it was amazing. And so then I came back for my senior year of high school in this like small town with like population of 5,000, one traffic light. And I basically like gave no more fucks, and it was awesome. Like I had gone from being like shy, nerdy, quiet girl to realizing like, oh, there is a bigger world out. So I don't actually care about any of these, like what people think of me anymore.
Right.
So my senior year was a lot more fun. And I wanted to study journalism. And so I was looking into programs. I did my first year at Ithaca College in upstate New York, which was like fine, but it wasn't a great fit for me. And then I went back to Germany as an international student for a year. And then I came back to the US and started at Kent State University, which is where I got my journalism degree from. And Kent State was awesome. And still a ton of my friends are from my journalism days at Kent State.
So were you ever on like the high school newspaper or anything like that?
Our school is so small that we didn't have a newspaper, but there was like a teen page in the weekly town newspaper, and we contributed to like the teen page sometimes.
Okay.
It was like me and like two other girls.
When I was in high school, I had totally wanted to be a writer. Like, I wanted to be a journalist. Like, that was the only thing that I ever wanted to do. And so I joined the high school newspaper team, and I was on it for not even a semester. And the teacher, like, grabbed me outside, made me go outside, and she's like, Jody, I think that you should quit the newspaper because you're never going to be a journalist. And, like, she was just like, you're a horrible writer. And she, like, went down this list. And I was like... like my jaw dropped, and like, you know, like here I am, just this shy little, like I was a total dork in high school too. And I was just like, I was totally crushed. I walked back in and I was like, I guess, you know, and now it's so funny. I look back at it and I was like, I was also vegan and like really into politics and stuff. And I think she was just mad that I was writing about like, go vegan and da 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 da. I joined the photo club.
But seriously, like teachers are supposed to encourage people.
Right?
Like, that's terrible of her. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Was there any Was there anyone that really pushed you growing up to be a writer, or like just like kind of turned that button for you?
I don't know. I did have like support like from my zine selling days at high school. Like the one English teacher and the school librarian were both really supportive. Like without fail, they always bought a copy of my zine, which is awesome because I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to be selling stuff on school property.
I've gotten in trouble for that.
But they loved it. I've always been like a self-motivated person. Like I've always just like when I have an idea, I just run with it. And I mean, that's why I'm like self-employed now. That's why I've started like all the crazy things that I've started. But like, I actually remember my English teacher really also got my sense of humor. Although he wasn't my English teacher, he actually taught like the remedial classes, and I was in like honors English and whatever. But he taught like drama and speech, and he was super fun. And he really got my sense of humor. Like there was one month where I'd been late in publishing the zine. Cause I was very strict. Like I do this monthly, like this is a monthly 4-page email. And I made a comment and it's like, guess this means I have irregular periodicals. And he thought that
An
was
early Grace meme.
Oh man. Yeah. But I mean, most of the content of that zine was just stuff I like photocopied from Rolling Stone or like reported via MTV News. Like,
Perfect.
but But you know what? I was probably the best-selling music zine in Southern Lorain County, so.
Yeah, that should be first on the resume. That's awesome. So, like, when you graduated from college, where did you start? Did you start working for any publication, or did you go straight into freelance?
No, I got a job at a newspaper in Pittsburgh right out of college. I had done some internships, like a copy editing internship in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and I did a magazine editorial internship in Cincinnati at the company that I would later go back to work for. So I had like some good experience exiting college, and at the time in late 2005, the job market in journalism was still good enough that like me as a new graduate, I had like multiple job offers, which now is like very unusual.
Yeah.
So I feel lucky that I graduated when I did. And I had a couple offers, but it ended up being between the Palm Springs Desert Sun or the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. So I obviously picked Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So you've like been able to move to different places for work then too. Did you live in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I lived in Pittsburgh for a year and a half. I really, really loved it.
So I just went to Pittsburgh for the first time this last year, and it scared the
Did you love it?
I loved it, but so it was like a nightmare came true because I have this reoccurring dream. So Pittsburgh is super hilly, right? And I have this, Cincinnati is too. But I had this feeling when I went to Cincinnati, but I have this reoccurring dream where I'm driving my car up a hill, and then the car starts like falling backwards, and I like end up going like in a circle kind of backwards down the hill. And like I actually stopped having it once I went to Pittsburgh, but the place that I was staying at there, it was horrifying. But I just maybe I'm just a wuss, but I don't know how y'all drive on those hills. Michigan, land of flatland.
Right. Yeah, no, it's so funny. I love that about Pittsburgh though. And that I think that helped then after I lived in Pittsburgh, like when I was coming to Cincinnati, it felt very familiar because of the hills and the river and everything.
Yeah.
But I really, really love Pittsburgh, and I had started doing craft stuff, like selling my cards and books, like out of my college dorm room, like with a little like pre-Etsy hand-coded website kind of thing. And so when I moved to Pittsburgh, then I got to sell at Handmade Arcade and met all those cool people in Pittsburgh who were doing craft stuff. And then when I moved to Cincinnati, I moved to work for F&W Media, which I worked at for 5 years. And I was really bummed that there wasn't a craft show like Handmade Arcade in Cincinnati. And after like a year of being bummed about that, I was like, well, crap, I guess I should start one.
Yeah. And so, how did you get started with Crafty Supermarket?
So that's like exactly how it started. So I had started, so when I came to Cincinnati, I was working as a assistant editor for two magazines, an art magazine and a genealogy magazine. And because I can never be without a project, I started thinking about like a craft business book for like part-time crafters, because the only existing craft business books at that time were really aimed at full-time people. And like the needs are just so different from the part-time people who are balancing a crafty business with a day job or school or family obligations or whatever. So I started thinking about that, and then like pitched it to the craft book division of the company I was working for, and Crafty Superstar started rolling along. And as that book when Crafty Superstar was on the verge of coming out in 2009, I went to the Summit of Awesome, which was a craft conference in DC. And when I was there, I met a couple people from Cincinnati. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, why don't we know each other? Like, we all live in Cincinnati. And this one girl in particular, she like lived within a mile of me in Clifton. And that was Alicia Budke, who like I started Crafty Supermarket with. And we were like, let's try doing a craft show. And like my book's coming out. So it'll be like book release party / craft show. And it just like, we rented out the back room of a bar and thought like, okay, cool. Like, let's see if we can get a couple hundred people to show up and shop. And we had like 1,000 people show up.
Wow.
For like 15 vendors in the back room of this little bar. Like it was so crowded. It was amazing. And so we immediately knew like, we got to do this again. So we did a spring show, moved to a bigger venue, the Clifton Cultural Arts Center, which still houses the spring shows, and brought on Chris Sally, who like I ran the show with then for many, many years. But yeah, it just grew from seeing a hole and wanting to fill it, like seeing this opportunity. And, you know, the craft community in Cincinnati didn't really have a hub yet. And once we started that, all these people came out of the woodwork and we're like, well, shit, where'd you come from?
Yeah. Yeah. There's all these like hidden crafty people.
Yeah. And like nobody, like everybody's just doing their own thing in their own little worlds. And so like Crafty Supermarket really brought everybody together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, like, with your book, when did you start that? Like, what inspired that? Was it just, like, you were working for the craft magazine when you started writing that? Or did that come from selling stuff or just...
It came from selling stuff and talking to a lot of other makers who were balancing, you know, craft stuff with other obligations. And so I was working for like unrelated magazines and just saw that there was something there. And my initial pitch to the craft book publisher was about like selling at craft shows. And then like, as we were working on the idea, it got, you know, it evolved and everything. But all in all, it was like probably 18 months from when I first pitched it to when I then had the book in my hands. There was like a couple months of negotiation at first, and there was like 9 months of writing, like a month or two of editing and design, and then like printing took place overseas, and it came in on like literally the slow boat from China.
Yeah.
And then it was in my hands.
Yeah. Publishing books has always been something that has just like completely blown my mind. Like just like this like thing, just like, it's a book. Wait, how did you even make that? Like, it's just this like crazy thing. It's
a very long process.
Yeah.
Not nearly as lucrative as one would imagine, but
yeah. Yeah. But it's like one of those things that will always be out there with like you, like it's a book. I don't know. It's really.
Yeah. And it's seriously like my favorite thing, even today, like the revised version of my book came out in 2012, but yeah, so I can still go into Barnes and Nobles, basically like anywhere in the US. And there's like a pretty good chance that my book is on the shelf.
Oh,
even though it came out in 2012.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. So when's the next book? Are you working on anything right now or thinking about working on anything?
I think like I would love to write another book more from like my journalism side. And I'm not sure what that's going to be yet, but I'm working on some like long-term reporting projects that like some have homes, some have, you know, a lot of research to do yet, but I definitely want to write another book. It's just going to be probably not in the craft space, probably just something else, nonfiction.
Very cool. You're going to have to keep us up to date with that one. So as far as like projects for 2017 go, you're moving to Germany. You want to talk a little bit about that? It's like a huge thing.
Yeah. So like I quit my day job to go freelance like 4.5 years ago. Like I was working at the magazine publishing company and like rising through the ranks, and it, you know, it was a really great learning experience. But at the same time, I'd kind of always thought that I would eventually go freelance. And that comes from like, my dad's been self-employed since I was a baby. My brother's mostly self-employed. Like we just have this like wanderlust that runs in my family. And so I really wanted to try working for myself. And I had a couple opportunities at the time, some freelance gigs that came up. And I thought like, if I'm going to do it, let's try it. If it doesn't work, I can get a job again, but I want to try it. And now it's been 4.5 years, and it's, it's scary sometimes. And it's definitely, there's good months and bad months. The good months are amazing. The bad months are terrible. But another reason why I wanted to go freelance was so I could travel more extensively.
Right.
And, and that's included reporting from South by Southwest in Austin, or I went to the Creativation Craft and Hobby Association trade show to write about that recently. And I also really want to try to go back to Germany again and see how that was, because I actually hadn't been back since 2002.
And you had recently been back to Germany. It was last summer, right?
Well, this is before that. Okay. So before I went back to Germany in 2015, I called up my host mom from way back when, and her husband passed away a few years ago, and her kids have grown up and moved out of the big house. So I just asked her, I was like, hey, what do you think about having a roommate for the summer? I would love to come see you and work from Germany for the summer, just do my thing. And she was like, yeah, sure. Sounds nice. You still have the key. Come over whenever. So I stayed with her for 3 months, and then also traveled quite a bit while I was there writing stories. And I did the same thing last year. And while I was there last year, I was cat sitting for some friends of friends in Berlin, living in, a little apartment for a couple weeks with a cat. And I just fell in love with it so much. So I decided last summer that I was going to try to make it real. And so, so I'm in the process now of moving to Germany, which there's only so much I can do ahead of time because I have to apply for residency once I get there. But, in the process of doing that. And so as of mid-March, I'm going to be over there and staying with my host mom while I work out my residency, get health insurance and a bank account and everything, and then apartment hunt and move to Berlin, hopefully in May.
I've often fascinated or fantasized about moving, and you're actually doing it, which is such a cool thing. That's awesome that you've had the experience, and it's almost like a second home to you.
It really is. And she's like a second mom to me. We get along really well. Now as roommates, we get along really well. She's really lovely. And I am also taking my cat with me. And so I've been getting all of her cat passport prepared. It's a health passport that has to be filled out, and she had to get a microchip and a whole bunch of other stuff. But
what's harder, to get you over there or the cat?
I don't know. She at least doesn't have to apply for residency, so that's good.
Yeah.
Prove that she's not a burden on the social state.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be a lot harder or easier to work over in Germany versus the U.S.? What do you think are the most major challenges you're going to have to overcome?
I think, honestly, getting residency, I think, is going to be the most difficult part. I'm probably going to continue just freelancing for the American companies I'm already freelancing for. When I've been back there the past 2 summers, I was reporting for news publications on various stuff going on in Germany. So, being an American who's fluent in German really helps me in terms of finding stories and reporting on stories for American outlets. I speak fluent German, but I don't write fluent German. So I'm probably not going to be working for any German companies quite yet. But I do have to, in my preparations for getting residency, I have to get some letters of interest from German companies saying that they would like to work with me potentially if I had my residency, just to prove to the Germans, German, it's called Ausländerbehörde, the foreign residence office, that I am not going to be a burden on the social state, and that I will be an employed person who is responsible and paying taxes, etc.
Oh, wow. So creative business education kind of seems to be a theme in your overall career. Has that always been something that you've been interested in?
Yeah, like I think it's been a thread throughout my whole life. Like even when I was a little kid, like coming up with schemes where like my zine turned a profit. Like who does that?
Yeah.
Like I was calculating out like my circulation. Like I can charge $0.25 and then I'll make $1 per issue after my photocopying costs. Like,
Yeah.
I was always been like, I don't know, like I describe it, like I'm very much a liberal person. I believe in a lot of social justice causes and liberal stuff, but at the same time, like I'm very much a capitalist. Like I'm a capitalist, like in my blood. And, so the idea of helping other creative people like figure out how to make money and support themselves, like that's been like after my book came out, that's been something that I've cared a lot about is, helping people who maybe aren't born with like a business mind or who are intimidated by business or numbers, help them, be better business people and make sure that they're getting paid.
And you're like, it's probably definitely was kind of ingrained in you growing up with your dad being a freelancer and entrepreneur. Yeah, that's awesome. So you are one of 3 people that are working on the Midwest Craft Conference. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? That's really exciting. That's something that's happening coming up, actually.
Yeah, it's so soon. It's February 10th through 12th in Columbus, Ohio. And it's like a 3-day business conference for crafty entrepreneurs and business people. And we started this last year and it was super, super fun. We bring in speakers and experts from all over the Eastern US, actually all over the country. Because one of our keynotes is coming in from California. So it's a business conference that's aimed at mid-career makers. So folks who have already started a creative business, but now they're trying to take it to the next level, like do more wholesaling or get into new markets or get better at marketing or start hiring people, just because their needs are so much more more specific than general, like, how do you start a craft business? Like, I feel like there's a lot of resources now, like including my book, where you can learn how to start a craft business. But we're really focusing on folks who are in it, who want to get better, and who also want to like hang out for the weekend and do karaoke with all your crafty friends. Yeah. Because that's what we're about too.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like I was lucky enough to go last year and it was really amazing just to see all the different categories of things, like classes that you could take or workshops. And there was just, like, I couldn't even decide. Like, I almost wanted somebody to just, like, guide me a little bit. Like, only because it was just, like, so overwhelming. But every single class was so amazing. What are some of the big topics this year that are really exciting?
Yeah, I think, like generally we have a couple tracks. Like, we have... like some classes are about marketing and social media. Some classes are about like business, like straight business topics. And then we have like a lot of classes that are about like self-care and like the social angle. I'm really excited about one from Caroline Craighead, who is a CPA, who is doing a session called Taxes Don't Have to Suck, because I don't know if I believe her, but I want to know what she knows, because I would love for taxes not to suck.
Oh my gosh. I don't know anyone that doesn't need that one.
Right? Yeah. And we also have Anil Vyas, who is a lawyer from Akron. He gave a couple sessions last year and was super... like he knows like legal stuff, and he has this way of talking about legal stuff that makes it actually funny and like interesting. And so he's doing a session about like hiring for small businesses, like legal stuff that you need to know before you hire someone. And then he's also doing just like a Q&A, like ask the lawyer. And so I think that's going to be really fun because, there's people have lot of questions, and you can actually get some just like straight up advice from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also really excited about May Pack, who spoke last year too about marketing stuff, and she was super cool. She's doing a session this year about subscription products, which is, I think, a really, really exciting new way that a lot of artists and designers are making like steady income, is the idea of having some type of subscription-based product, whether it's physical or digital, to have like reliable income and repeat customers. So I'm really curious about that session.
So talk to me a little bit about what Midwest CraftCon is going to be offering this year.
Yeah, for sure. So like we have like 3 days of programming, and it's the type of thing where like you can buy a pass for the whole weekend, or you can just come like for a day if you're like nearby. So the base price is $249 for the whole weekend, and that includes like all of the sessions that you want to go to. We have evening craftivity time, which is a lot of like fun, just hang out group activities. We actually have like a murder mystery game that's happening that someone's like creating for us. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. We have karaoke. We have like a karaoke guy coming just for us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I believe, like we have like activities with googly eyes, which are just for fun.
Oh my gosh.
It's also the type of, like participatory conference where anybody who wants to do something can just like go for it. So there's a person who's organizing like a gift swap. So she's like matching up people who want to participate, and like people are just making each other gifts, and it's super cute.
That's perfect. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. And like, and it's obviously, business too. We have like one keynote each day, like Yao Cheng, who's an illustrator from Columbus. She's speaking Friday. And then, Jen Hewitt, who's a really awesome printmaker, textile designer. She's speaking Saturday. And then Chris Glass, who's a designer, like a major designer, is speaking on Sunday. And then we've got, classes going on every day. And then we also have like evening cash bar plus like buffet that's included, and, just a lot of stuff like that. But, yeah, if people are interested, they can just go to midwestcraftcon.com and see what's up. And, we also we had a scholarship application this year. We had donations from sponsors and participants to be able to give away 3 scholarships. So like people got full weekend passes, which is super awesome because we know like money is tight, people, especially in creative industries, it's a volatile industry. So we are really, really happy that we were able to give like 3 full scholarships to crafters who wanted to come but couldn't afford it. And,
for sure.
And also like even though scholarships have already been awarded, we also feel like if anybody wants to come, but there's something like in their way from coming, like talk to us and we'll try to figure out like we can work it out, right? Like whether it's getting like some type of carpool action going on or helping people share hotel rooms. Cause that's totally cool with us. Like we have, like a room sharing list. And so people can find each other if they're looking for a roommate or they need or even like, if someone like can cover half of the ticket, but they need some help, like we'll like look at it and like see what we can do, like we want people to come no matter like what the situation is.
One thing like last year when I went that I just found completely amazing was just, just going to different craft shows through the different years and meeting a whole bunch of people. It's really amazing to see how supportive the entire community is, and to like have that community get together and put on a conference where not only are you going there to learn, but you're like learning from people that are also supporting you, and like totally like even the conference supports you and being able to help you get there, which is really amazing. I had so much fun with everyone last year. To anyone listening, if you get the opportunity, I highly recommend getting over to this year's craft conference. I do not think you will be disappointed at all. Trust me. Go.
Yeah, it's just so fun because, I mean, we're all, you might think that creative businesses operating in the same area would be like competing with each other, but we're not, because everyone's doing something that represents them and we're all individuals. And so like, you might be there and see someone else who does illustration, but you're not coming to each other like, oh, who's this chick who also does illustration in the Midwest? It's like, so it's so collegial, it's just supportive.
I've always had, a lot of the times I don't know how to explain what the things that I'm thinking, but, to anyone that's ever seen the show My Little Ponies, not the like the old 80s version of My Little Ponies, every single time I see like another illustrator that I'm geeked about, like, or just like two crafters that are geeked to see each other, all I imagine in my head is like when My Little Ponies would greet each other and be like, ah! I'm doing dinosaur arms right now. Just like magic spurting out, just
for sure. Yeah, and I mean, and there's so much rainbow hair at this conference also, so that kind of adds to the My Little Pony aspect. But like, but yeah, that was like another reason why we started this, was because like there are people we only get to see like once or twice a year, who like we have such a good time with. Like maybe we get to go out for drinks after a show, but then we have to like drive back to wherever we're from. Mm-hmm. And so this was also just a way, like selfishly for us, to get to hang out with people that we want to hang out with, the people that we like don't get to see enough of, because it really feels like a family reunion,
Yeah, it does. And it's totally, the cool thing is about it too is in no way is it any type of clique either, because like when I was there last year, I met so many people that had just saw Midwest Craft Conference online and didn't know anyone, and all of a sudden they're part of the family, which is really cool. It's an open and inviting group, which is really amazing.
Yeah, and that's something that we really like focused on, because if you go there with friends, you might be tempted to just hang out with your friends.
Yeah, it's and it's a great way for people to start their 2017 too, because sometimes you just need a little fire under your bum to get started. I know last year I came, for sure, I got home and hit the ground running as far as inspiration goes to get that business started.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah.
Midwest Craft Con, put the fire under my bum for this thing.
Midwest Craft Con, we will light your ass on fire.
Yeah, new tagline.
No, actually, we're making shirts, and our shirts and totes this year. We want a slogan, so it wasn't just our logo. I mean, our logo is pretty cool. It's like the Midwest and an anvil to show like how hardcore makers are in the Midwest. But our slogan for this year is "Craft the Pain Away."
Oh my God, I love that so much. It's so good.
We got a peaches reference, and also a nod to the stress that a lot of people are feeling right now, and tension in America in general. So we encourage people to craft the pain away.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. If you could go back in time and give yourself advice before you started doing what you're doing, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I'd probably just go back to myself, like, even, like, junior high school, little Grace, and be like, go with it. Like, that would just be my advice. Be like, do it. Like, go with it. You're doing it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. And this is one of my favorites. What is the weirdest thing anyone has ever said to you at a craft show?
Oh, God.
Like when you're behind the table or just whatever, organizing.
Yeah. One year at Crafty Supermarket, it was I want to say it was like our holiday show back when we still had it at the Clifton Cultural Arts Center. And it was very crowded. You know, it's not a very big space. And, you know, we were getting popular to the point where like it was really crowded. And this woman came up, this older, like quite like an elderly woman came up to me and Chris and said, I am an undercover fire inspector. This place is too crowded. I'm going to shut you down. And I was freaked out for like a second.
Yeah.
And then my business partner, Chris, was like, she's like an elderly woman who is probably not a fire inspector.
Yeah.
This one was definitely not a fire inspector. And I like told someone from the venue what I had just heard. And she was like, I mean, I know it's crowded, but we're like, fine.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't against code. So that was definitely like the so-called undercover fire inspector.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't identify themselves as an undercover fire inspector if they were actually undercover.
Yeah.
But, that's probably the most memorable thing I've heard at a craft show.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any big plans for 2007? Oh, yeah, 2007. Yeah, yeah. What were you doing back then? Time travel.
Yeah, no, I don't know what this year is going to hold for me. I mean, Midwest Craft Con is the focus of a lot of my attention for the next month. And then the month after that, I'm moving, selling all of my stuff and moving, and then figuring out how to make it work.
Yeah.
So I've got some like journalism projects in the works. But like with any type of creative endeavor, like you don't know if something's going to work out until it does. So, yeah, I'm just continuing to like work on projects that I think are cool and that I think other people are going to like, and trust that it's all going to work out.
Yeah. So Grace, if anyone wants to get in touch with you to do freelance or just anything, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh yeah, I got a website. It's gracedobush.com. I'm also on Twitter a lot, Grace Dobush to go. Ooh. And yeah.
Thanks so much once again to Grace Dobush for coming on the show. You are listening to Detroit Craft Academy. If you'd like to find out more about Detroit Craft Academy, head on over to our website over at DetroitCraftAcademy.com. You'll also be able to find links to things that we talked about on the show, including Crafty Supermarket, Midwest Craft Con, and a link to Grace's website where you can find out more about her.